Was Islam really spread by the sword? For centuries, this question has been repeated in books, debates, and casual talks. Some imagine armies marching across lands, forcing entire populations to convert at the edge of a blade. But is this the truth, or is it a myth shaped by misunderstanding and politics? In this video, we'll uncover what history really says. Stay with me, because the real answer might surprise you. The phrase "spread by the sword" paints a picture of forced conversions, but when we study history, the reality is very different. Yes, Islamic empires expanded through military campaigns, but the spread of the Islamic faith itself was often peaceful, gradual, and voluntary. Let's go back to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in the 7th century Mecca. For over a decade, he and his followers faced persecution, boycotts, and hostility. Yet, they did not take up arms to force their beliefs. Instead, they spread their message through patience, character, and dialogue. Only after migrating to Medina did Muslims begin to defend themselves militarily, but even then, conversion was never demanded at sword point. After the Prophet's passing, Muslim rule expanded rapidly across the Middle East, North Africa, and parts of Asia. But here's something important. Political control spread quickly, but religious conversion did not. In places like Egypt, Persia, and Syria, large Christian and Zoroastrian populations continued practicing their faiths for centuries under Muslim rule. If Islam had been forced, these societies would have converted overnight. Instead, change happened slowly, sometimes over hundreds of years. The Qur'an itself is clear on this issue. In Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 256, it states, "There is no compulsion in religion. Faith in Islam must be a matter of choice." Historical records also show that non-Muslims were generally allowed to practice freely under Muslim governance. They paid a tax called jizya in exchange for protection and exemption from military service, while Muslims paid their own tax called zakat. This arrangement allowed communities to coexist rather than be forced into one faith. Look at Indonesia, Malaysia, and West Africa, today home to some of the world's largest Muslim populations. None of these regions were conquered by Muslim armies. Islam arrived through merchants, travelers, and scholars who impressed locals with their honesty, justice, and spiritual teachings. Trade routes, cultural exchanges, and personal example proved far more powerful than any weapon. Of course, wars were part of history. The early Islamic state fought against the Byzantine and Persian empires, and later dynasties expanded their political borders. But reducing Islam's growth to violence alone ignores the far richer story, a faith carried by ideas, justice, and personal connection. In India, for example, Islam thrived despite the majority of the population remaining Hindu for centuries under Muslim rule. If conversions had been forced, this would not have been possible. So what drew people to Islam? Many were attracted by its emphasis on equality before God, charity for the poor, and dignity for all humans. Islamic law provided justice that appealed to marginalized groups. The sense of community, strong ethics in trade, and spiritual depth resonated deeply with people across cultures. Even some European historians who once described Islam as spread by the sword have changed their view after studying the evidence. They now acknowledge that while empires rose and fell through conquests, faith spread mostly through persuasion, trade, and cultural exchange. Why then does the myth still exist? A big reason is the rivalry between Christian Europe and the Muslim world during the Crusades and beyond. To justify wars, both sides painted the other as violent. These narratives stuck and continue to shape popular opinion. When we step back, we see a balanced truth. Islam's expansion involved politics, trade, dialogue, and yes, at times, warfare. But the heart of its spread lies in the power of its teachings and the way Muslims lived their faith. So, was Islam spread by the sword? The evidence shows that while armies may have drawn borders, it was the message, values, and example of Muslims that carried Islam across continents. If this helped clear up some misconceptions, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more explorations into history, culture, and hidden truths.